On a misty spring morning, we went a-wandering up the Montmartre butte, that's the hill, and found an unassuming door at 12 Rue Courteau that led us into the colourful past for at least 3 hours. Hello, this morning we fell out the door of our apartment and we followed the theme of choosing the most interesting path, and it led us here, up the hill from Montmartre, where we are staying, to the Musée Monmarte. In the religious era of the 12th and 13th century, it was home to a Benedictine monastery and became a popular pilgrimage destination. Hence, Montmartre, which means Mount of the Martyrs. In the 14th to 17th centuries, the butte was covered in vineyards producing wine, windmills grinding grain, and mines excavating gypsum. When the French Revolution happened in the 18th century, soldiers destroyed the abbey, making way for the birth of the Montmartre Commune and La Belle Époque. 40 years of optimism, peace, and creativity like people had never seen before. Cabaret singers, dancers and actors all became subjects in the art. Creatives were drawn to this district for its fantasies, freedom and entertainment. Urbanisation came when the area was annexed in 1860 to become the 18th arrondissement of Paris. The area's cheap rents and idyllic setting on the city's fringe with sweeping views attracted artistic bohemians, and thus iconic cabarets, cafes and dance halls. There remained a church on the butte, Saint-Pierre, the oldest in Paris, along with the Clos Montmartre Vineyard, the smallest in France, and the Montmartre Cemetery, the final resting place of famous French and expat artists. We love history, but did not find this popular haunt, perhaps because of the inclement weather, perhaps because we took so long at the Musée de Montmartre. The Musée de Montmartre used to be one of the most influential artist studios of this era, home to numerous artists, but the one who lived here the longest is Suzanne Valadon. It is her story that starts the exhibition in a blacked-out room, transporting you back in time with sound and images. Suzanne wanted to be an acrobat in the circus, but after a bad fall, she began to pose as an artist's model and was the iconic face of many of Renoir's paintings. Valadon spent the most productive years of her life right here with her son, Maurice Outrello, who became a painter, no surprise, and her partner, artist André Uta. It was an exciting, wild time, and the three of them, known as Le Trio Infernal, the Infernal Trio, were at the epicentre of this art world. They lived in the Atelier apartment, now largely refurbished and open to the public. It is an upstairs studio with a huge wall of glass windows. The main building that houses the permanent collection is the oldest on the butte, La Maison du Bel Air. Built in the 17th century, it has smooth, worn staircases and small paned windows. The first floor features the permanent collection dedicated to the history of Montmartre, with significant paintings of the area, including the Basilica Sacré-Cœur. The second floor is dedicated to the famous Le Chat Noir cabaret, with reconstructed shadow art used in the plays and theatre, hand-painted posters and glass display cabinets with early printed tickets and drawings, plus the original, very small, zinc bar. Japonisme is a French term meaning the influence Japanese aesthetics had on Western culture once Japan reopened in the late 1800s. European artists like Claude Monet, Edgar Degas, and Vincent van Gogh were captivated by the inspiring new style that enabled them to break free from tradition, paving the way for Impressionism, Art Nouveau, and Modernism. On the third floor, Suzanne Valadon's work is on display. Valadon began drawing as a child in an era where it was not acceptable for women to be artists, so no formal training was available. Suzanne observed the men painting, asked lots of questions, and developed her style in secret, starting with candid female nudes, who washed their hair and got out of bed, rather than as objects of desire. Degas was the first person to buy a piece of her art, and in 1894 she was the first woman artist to be showcased at the National Salon. Valadon disrupted the status quo and played a crucial role in the feminist art movement, creating space for women's self-expression. By the 1920s, her free rebel lifestyle was revered. Surrounding the museum are 3 beautiful gardens dedicated to Impressionist painter Auguste Renoir. He lived here when he painted several masterpieces, including La Balancourt, The Swing. The Renoir Gardens are a perfect way to break up the intensity of this avant-garde atmosphere. As you gaze out at the vineyard and the northern cityscape, you can imagine being an artiste, capturing the views. After we have seen it all, we have a refreshing bevy at Café Renoir before perusing the excellent gift shop on the way out. There is no space for a coat check or a luggage room, so travel light. The museum is open every day, including public holidays, from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m.